You're listening to the legendary podcaster, the one, the only, T-Jam D. Your personal favorite, and the show you've been waiting for. Probably offensive.
Welcome to another spectacular episode of Probably Offensive. I am your host, Anthony Scott Dover. I think I'll start the show off today by talking a little bit about sports. I've been meaning to go into sports a little bit more. My broadcasting partner, T. Crow, is not with me today, but he'll be back. He'll be back with me. We got plenty of more shows to do together. So T. Crow is absent today. He's not in Bermuda or the Bahamas or anything like that. Just not in the studio today. That's all. Anyway, I think we did touch on last time I talked about sports. I think we did touch on the tennis player. What's her name? Naomi Osaka. There was a little bit going on with Naomi Osaka. She is the star tennis player who dropped out of a tournament because of she has anxiety disorder, and she didn't want to do the media, and that was made a big deal out of. People either fell on one side or the other, like she should have done the media. A lot of players don't want to do media, and I was of that opinion until I found out that she has this anxiety problem where she's depressed for no reason. And I'm sure most of you have heard of anxiety, the anxiety issue where you get excited and you get depressed. A lot goes on. I'm not that familiar with anxiety disorder, but I know that it's not a normal reaction to anything. So Naomi Osaka dropped out of a tournament. She dropped out of a tournament. That means it's serious for her, because she's losing millions of dollars potentially. Every match that you win, you get paid for participating in the match. But if you win a tennis match on the professional circuit in a major tournament, you get to move on. And when you play the next match, you get more money. Every match you play is more money. It's more money. It's more money. And the chance to win the tournament, making you a champion. So if she drops out because of anxiety disorder, then that's serious for her. Those of you who don't have anxiety disorder, to you it's like saying all athletes, professional athletes, NBA, NFL, hockey, NASCAR, Major League Baseball, they're required to, the star players at least, are the ones that the media usually wants to talk to. They're required to give an interview, but so it's the same way in tennis and golf. If the media wants to talk to you, you're required to say something in an interview. But Naomi Osaka didn't want to participate. She was I guess, having a rough time at that time with her anxiety disorder. So I would cut the girl some slack. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she'll be able to work her way through it. I don't know. But at first I was saying she should do it, or just, hey, she dropped out of the tournament, so you should do it or drop out. And that's exactly what she did. So you can't really say anything about that. I mean, you can say whatever you want to say about it, but she dropped out of the tournament, so she didn't want to do it, and she stood by, her guns. So for those of you who are unaware, the Olympics are coming up. We're coming up on the Olympics, and the controversy about the Olympics is whether to have it or not to have it. Some people say the Olympics should be canceled this year, and some people say it should be postponed. And one of the people who say it should be postponed is Bob Costas. Bob Costas is a longtime broadcaster for NBC, a very good broadcaster. I've loved Bob Costas broadcasting. The guy's very intelligent, educated, articulate. He is very knowledgeable about sports. Any sport that he, is talking about, usually he's more knowledgeable than the average person. So, yeah, Bob Costas is one of the people who think that the Olympics should be postponed till next year. Usually when they have the Olympics, they have it first, the Olympics is every 4 years, so I think most of the people know that the Olympics is every 4 years. Yeah, the Olympics is every 4 years, and for those of you who don't know, they have the Summer Olympics at a different time than the Winter Olympics. So when you see the Summer Olympics on television, that's the one that's supposed to be coming up. And that's just next month and starting in July. In Japan, they're supposed to have this Olympics in Japan. And Japan is racked with COVID. So a lot of people are saying they should postpone it because, they don't want to go to Japan and catch COVID again. But, and for whatever reasons, the vaccines are not spread through Japan. I'm sure the Japanese, are moving to get the vaccines or whichever vaccine they feel is the most effective. I mean, we've been taking the vaccines here in the U.S. for months now. Not everybody, obviously, has taken vaccines. But I think in the U.S., we've taken the vaccines more than anyone else. So, not even half the people in the U.S. have taken vaccines, but I think the U.S. vaccines have been distributed more than any other country. So everyone else is behind as far as vaccines go for COVID. But, there's a great debate about the Olympics now. And it was the Summer Games that we were coming up on here in next month. whenever you see the Winter Games, it's usually 2 years after the Summer Games. So the Olympics is every 4 years, but they'll have the Summer Olympics, and then they'll have the Winter Olympics 2 years later. So they used to have them together. They used to have a Summer Olympics and the Winter Olympics in the same year. Only they'd have the Winter Olympics somewhere where it's cold, where they could have all the skiing and all the cold weather, except for the ice skating. They don't actually need cold weather for the ice skating. They just need a hockey rink with ice on it. So, but they usually pick places where they have giant hills that snow, so they can have these skiing events. But this year, because of the pandemic, the Summer Olympics still could be postponed. It looks like they're going to go through with it, but it's going to be held in Japan, and Japan is not doing too well as far as COVID is concerned. Now, I want to straighten one thing out before I move on, and that is this, because I've skipped a couple of weeks of doing this podcast, and if anybody out there is a loyal listener, which I hope someone is, and maybe I just get random listeners, just a few hundred random listeners at a time, but if anybody out there is a loyal listener and you're wondering what the hell happened to your podcast, did you quit? No, I just didn't do it a couple of weeks, but I am going to get on a schedule with this podcast. Eventually, I hope to start doing the podcast every day, if it calls for it. I don't know if there's a market for that. I'm sure there is, because this podcast is really conducted, and mostly all podcasts are. Every podcast you hear is sort of like a radio show. But people can listen to a podcast anytime with earbuds and different stuff like that. People don't usually only listen to radio shows when they're in the car going to and from wherever they're going to. But, you don't have to. I mean, with the technology we have today, you can listen to a radio show if you can get it on the app. You can listen to it anytime, really. But anyway, I wanted to say that the last time I done this podcast, my broadcasting partner, T. Crow, was on here with me, and he was talking about the vaccines. And he said that he didn't think the vaccines were going to work. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because somebody said to me, so you've changed your position on the vaccine, because before I was telling people, get the vaccine, take the vaccine. I don't think there's nothing wrong with the vaccine, but at the same time, I was a little leery of the vaccine. That's why I have not yet gotten the vaccine, because I wanted to give it time, but because my reasoning was different than a lot of other people's reasoning. You got a lot of right-wingers, is what they call them politically, who don't want to take the vaccine just because, it's the Republican side of things and the conspiracy theory side of things for people not to take the vaccine, which this vaccine and this virus, the coronavirus, should not be political. It should not be political.